Welcome back to the channel today, guys, as we continue our Spy Classroom catch-up. And just an FYI, we will be doing episode 4 tomorrow, and we will finally be caught up. It's wild, but it'll happen. And it'll happen tomorrow, so stay tuned. And we'll do episode 5 probably on Friday, for right now, because we have Eminence and Shadow on Wednesday. And when that finishes, I think we'll be able to do Spy Classroom again on Wednesday. But for now, it'll be on Friday. But man, guys, this is why they tell you gotta give shows 3 episodes. This is why the 3 episode rule is set in place, because I really enjoyed this episode a lot, honestly. This gave me the complete vibe of the show, and I already dug it. I enjoyed it a lot. And there was one moment I was actually genuinely surprised in, and I was like, wait, what? What? Wait, what? And it was fun. It was a fun episode. So let's just get straight into it and talk about Spy Classroom episode 3 today. So our episode begins immediately where our last one left off, with Operation Abyss Doll in full swing, as we see Klaus infiltrating the facility. As he says, our infiltration routes will take us in from the east and the west. I'll be operating separately from the rest of you. As we see the girls making their way in as well. As Klaus says, the samples we're after is somewhere in this building here. But we weren't able to track down an exact location. We'll have to go to the mission site and get that intel in person. As Thea says, I can't believe the Empire actually stole a killer virus. As Klaus tells her, it spreads via airborne droplets over its 1-week incubation period. Then kills its host within 12 hours of symptoms appearing. It's nothing short of evil incarnate. As Lily says, if they think they can get away using bioweapons, they've got another thing coming. And I could see this mission hitting really hard for Lily, because her town was completely wiped out by a bioweapon before, right? So this mission is somewhat personal for her. As Klaus says, there are a number of soldiers and Imperial spies stationed on site. If they find you, they're going to shoot first and ask questions later. You'll need to deceive everyone who stands in your way to take them down. And it's here we get the events of episode 1 playing out again, as we see everything is going somewhat smoothly until we hear someone was able to escape Mr. Bernard's surveillance, as they realize that they're dealing with a spy, and a good one at that. But it's here all of a sudden, we see all of them start shooting at someone who's charging at them, and when we get a good look at him, I think that looks like Klaus's mentor. Crazy, how'd that happen? Guys, I literally said some stuff like this was gonna happen weeks ago. When we did the last episode, it was kind of obvious. As he throws a bomb and actually separates all of them. And as Klaus sees the explosion, he says, that explosion was the same color as the explosions my mentor used to use. Nani? As we actually get a flashback sequence of the two of them training, and Klaus gets absolutely stomped, as he says, against him, I never once won a fight. He was always 1/10 of a second faster than me, and I could never close that gap. Pay attention to that 1/10 of the second line, guys. We'll get back to it later. As Klaus says, after Inferno got wiped out, I ID'd his corpse. But what if it was a fake? As we see the man himself standing there, facing off against Lily and everyone. And it's here Guido says, that's odd. My idiot pupil is supposed to be the one coming in from the west. But this works though. Once I take all 7 of you hostage, that'll be that. As Lily realizes, wait, aren't you Teach's mentor, Mr. Guido? As he says, what the hell, you know my name? Klaus has got some loose lips on him, huh? And it's here Thea says, everyone on Inferno is supposed to be dead. As Greta answers, he turned traitor. He betrayed his team. As Monica says, I always thought it was weird. Impossible mission or not, it didn't make sense for a team that legendary to go down so easily. And it's here Lily asks him, how'd you know our infiltration routes? As he tells them, I was on Inferno, remember? I used to live in Heat Haze Palace. I bugged the place to the gills myself. We heard everything through the wiretap. I know everything about you 7, and I know your entire plan. As he says, 7 on 1, huh? You're all going down, and they start fighting. And as they all split up in 7 different directions, he chases after Lily as Lily tells him, "Unfortunately for you, we have a lot of experience fighting outmatched. We do it every day." She dives out the way and we see he gets caught up in wires that they set. But he effortlessly breaks out of the trap and actually ends up knocking out Annette, who is attacking him. As he tells them all, "The Republic's spy techniques won't work on me." 6 left. Welcome to hell, kiddos. And it's here we actually go to the comms room of the facility that they're infiltrating as we hear, "Blue Fly has made contact with enemy spies by the Western Pipeline Block." And it's here we hear another report saying, "The hostile coming from the east is heading straight for us here in the main building, just as we planned." And it's here as we transition back to Lily and the girls, we hear Guido say, "Klaus is probably freaking out right about now. He's thinking, oh, I can't afford to lose another team," or something like that. Now, come on out, ladies. You have 10 seconds. For every second past that, I break one of her fingers. As he holds up Annette. As Greta tells Lily, "Buy us some time. We'll use it to prepare our next move." And as Lily steps out, Guido says, "Wow, you made up your mind quickly. It was the wrong call, though. You should have abandoned your friend and fled." And it's here Lily gives a speech. A very anime-esque speech. As she says, "We decided that all 7 of us would make it out alive. Lamplight wouldn't be Lamplight without Teach and 7 hotties like me." Very humble. A rainbow's got 7 colors, and there are 7 deadly sins. As we hear one of the girls say, "Wow, she just had to throw in that bit calling herself a hottie, huh?" As Lily continues and says, "Having 6 or 8 of us just wouldn't feel right. The 7 of us are all going to go back, together with Teach." And it's here we see the rest of the girls actually throw smoke bombs down as Siblia actually comes and attacks him in the confusion. And as Guido slips away, he says, "This is turning into a headache." As he jumps up to where Thea is and knocks her from her perch as he tells her, "I guess that'd make you lust, huh?" "If you're trying to bait me, it won't work." As she tells him, "How mean, but you're still too slow," as we see handcuffs shackle his ankles. And it's here we suddenly see Klaus jumping down from above to stab him. Or so we thought, as Guido says, "You seriously thought that the skies would fool me?" As he effortlessly takes out the Klaus imposter and says, "He always calls me master." 5 left, as he easily breaks out of the shackles. Takes Thea down and sets 4 left, as Lily grabs him from behind and shoots poison in his face. And poisoned, he still stumbles a bit, but he still punches Siblia in the gut and says, 3 left. As he tells them, "Man, I held my breath as fast as I could, but that poison still stings like hell. You see, I can barely feel my fingertips here." As we see that he's just playing with them at this point. And it's here we see him easily smack away Monica as he says, 2 left. Then jumps on top of Sarah and says, 1 left. As we see that Lily's the only one left. And it's here as Lily charges at him, he easily knocks her out too and says, "Sorry, kid. All that work you did this past month was for nothing." 0 left. And it's here as we transition to Klaus's side as he's infiltrating, we just hear, "Too bad, so sad. All that information you gathered was bad intel we fed you on purpose," as we see that Klaus is surrounded. As the woman tells him, "Blue Fly, or as you knew him, Guido, turned traitor. And when he did, we got full dossiers on every spy in the Din Republic. There's no way in hell you could beat us. But our boy Klaus, never to be outdone, says nothing, dives down, pulls a flame-proof tarp over him as all of them burst in the flames. As the lady says it was a trap, as Klaus walks up to her and stabs her in the throat, killing her right there. And it was kind of wild when I first watched it. As he walked up to one of the surviving soldiers and says, "I have some questions for you. And I expect answers." And it's here as we transition back to the girls, we see that all the members of Lamplight are chained up besides Lily, as Lily says to Guido, "I figured out what you're after. It's Teach, right? He's been your target all along." As Guido tells her, "Bingo," and explains his plan to her, saying, "When we took out Inferno 2 months ago, the plan was for him to die too. I gave him a special mission to isolate him from the group. Him teaming up with the others would have been a problem." As he says, "Back then, I was being sarcastic to him. I knew there was no way he was making it out of there alive. But imagine my surprise when the little bastard pulled through. I sent waves of top-notch Imperial spies after him, and he put them all in the ground. As far as the Empire is concerned, getting rid of him is a top priority. As Lily says, you used the Bistal to bait and lure him out. As Guido says, right again, not even he's going to be able to survive this. And it's here Lily says, you've got it all figured out, huh? If Teach comes, he'll die. And if he doesn't, he'll kill us. Oh no, whatever are we gonna do? And it's here in this moment. Things start getting a little interesting. As Lily says, I have to ask though, Mr. Guido. How much longer should I keep playing along with this game? As we suddenly hear over the radio, can you hear me, Master? I just secured the Abyssal sample. The mission is complete. All that's left for me to do is escape. And it's here we start getting into the nitty-gritty of what's been going on as we take a flashback to the briefing as we hear we're about to head into the mission site. But in all likelihood, the Empire will be expecting us, showing that they knew the entire time. However, that's not a problem. We'll go in pretending we're none the wiser. Thinking we know nothing, our enemies will underestimate us and try to catch me in a trap. Then, I can turn the tables on them and secure the intel we need. As he tells the girls, there's one foe in particular though, I need you all to deceive. As Greta says, so we're the diversion, huh boss? As Klaus says, by feigning weakness, you can create an opening. That's your true mission. And as we transition back, Klaus says, I'm taking the Abyssal sample, and I'm going home, Master. Even if I came over there, I can't beat you in a fight. As Guido tells him, cut the crap, and Klaus says, oh, and Master, you're working under a very large misconception. I always suspected that one of Inferno's members had turned traitor. I knew it was an inside job the moment I heard the news 2 months ago. As Guido says, how? There was no proof. And Klaus says, I just did. And I kind of love that that's like a catchphrase of Klaus, actually. I kind of really like that, I just did. I like it. But Klaus says, if I had a reason to suspect you, though, it was because I found those bugs you planted in Heat Haze Palace. That's why the girls and I operated under the assumption that a traitor was listening to everything we did in the palace. And it's here we start seeing some legitimate big brain plays, actually, that I was kind of surprised by. As Klaus says, when we first met, I gave them a set of communal living rules. For example, one of them was never use your unique talents inside Heat Haze Palace. When they heard the rules, they understood what I was getting at. In other words, Master, you think you know what they're capable of. But the truth is, you know nothing. The dossiers you have on every full-fledged spy in the Republic won't do you a bit of good against the Academy's girl wonders. Each member of Lamplight has a deadly skill they keep hidden away. I can say with full confidence that the girls will defeat you. And it's here as we suddenly see foam, we hear Lily say, I'm codenamed Flower Garden, and it's time to bloom out of control. As Lily tells him, this poison foam takes full advantage of my abnormal physiology. I spent this past month coming up with it. You like it? As she asks him, wanna try it on? And it's here Guido asks her, what? You still can't beat me. Why even bother getting up? As Lily tells him, you wouldn't get it. Someone who chose to betray the family they lived in Heat Haze Palace never could. I'm taking you down, Guido. And as Lily charges at him, he still gets behind her and knocks her down. As Guido says, this foam was just for show, huh? Figures. But it's here all of a sudden. Things start getting real interesting. As all of a sudden he sees 2 screws fall. And the entire pipeline and above him falls and collapses. And as he jumps out the way, he suddenly gets stabbed by this girl in the back. A girl we haven't seen before, as she says, how unlucky. As Guido realizes, wait, she was hiding in the backpack? As the girl says, our first coordinated plan, and I get stuck with the hardest job. As Guido realizes, wait a minute, there was an 8th member? As Klaus says, indeed there was. And I'm gonna be real, this was a good reveal. I already expected the stuff with Gudo. I told you guys that in the last episode. He was already suspicious. This was a legitimately good reveal. I did not expect this at all. I actually really like it. As Klaus tells him, the 8 girls had to live as if they were 7 people. Allow me to introduce her. She's Erna, codename The Fool. As Klaus starts explaining that on the first day, Lily and the rest of the original 7 were the only ones who arrived. But on the second day, Erna showed up late and joined the roster as its 8th member. From that point on, they went about their lives making sure never to mention that there were actually 8 of them. We did that knowing you wiretapped us. As he says, Erna specializes in misfortune, and she's an expert when it comes to accidents and disasters. Her sharp senses let her subconsciously pick up on portents of danger, allowing her to get others caught up in them. And I gotta be real, guys. That sounds like some BS to me. That's not a real thing. That's not at all. That's total BS, but whatever. We'll go with it. As Lily says, she's our super secret ace in the hole. As Gudo says, you seriously sacrificed a month of your lives just to land a single attack? As Lily says, yeah, we seriously did. We're your idiot pupils, after all. As we see Gudo actually pass out here. But it's here as they're untying everyone, Erna tackles Lily as we see that Gudo's not done yet. He's still kicking. As Erna says, I know I stabbed you. I know it worked. And Gudo's just like, yeah, you sure did. I even passed out for a second there. As he literally just kicks 3 of them across the room, which I kind of think is a little silly to be honest, but okay. As he says, my moves are 1/10 of a second slower. That was all your efforts amounted to. Now let me ask you guys something. Who's always been 1/10 of a second slower than Gudo? Who's always been? I wonder who's gonna show up and beat him now, guys. I wonder. And as things are looking bleak, we just hear magnificent. As we see that Klaus is on the scene, and who could have thunk it? I'm shocked. As he tosses a briefcase to Lily and says, Abyss Doll's in here, take it and go. As he tells them, I might be a bit. Go on ahead and take Escape Route 4 back to Din. And as they leave, it's a showdown between master and student. As Klaus puts the gun away and takes a knife out, which, that's a decision. As they do one exchange with each other, and Klaus says, that was some excellent work my students did. Your movements are 1/10 of a second slower. I finally caught up. As we see he cuts Gudo on the face, as Klaus says, I'm sorry, master. But in your current state, you aren't qualified to be my enemy. And it's here we actually transition to a week later, which is kind of a weird cut, honestly, but okay, as we hear Lily say, thanks for everything, Teach. As we just hear, so, all of them went back to their academies, huh? As Klaus says, yeah. Lamplight was the provisional team assembled to complete a single impossible mission. Now that the mission's over, it makes sense to disband the team. As we see, he's talking to the director. They won't have to self-deprecatingly call themselves Washout anymore. If they can go forward with their heads held high, then I couldn't ask for nothing more. As the director tells him, you sound like a real teacher now. As Klaus says, please, as an instructor, I was incompetent from start to finish. As the director says, really now, I wonder what your former master would say of that. But we get serious as he asks him, what became of Gudo's body? And it's here we transition back to that night as we see Klaus did defeat Gudo as he asks him, why did you betray Inferno, master? As Gudo tells him, finish the job, Klaus. But Klaus tells him, I'm not letting you die. Not yet. As he says, I'm disbanding Lamplight. The 2 of us can rebuild Inferno together, master. You can atone for what you did by putting your life on the line for the country we all love. You're the only family I have left, Gudo. As we see, Klaus has not given up on him. As Gudo tells him, you're way too soft, kid. And it's here he notices a sniper in the window as he pushes Klaus out the way and gets shot himself. And it's a fatal shot. As he tells Klaus, make sure you protect them this time. Which is kind of a fucked up thing to say, honestly, when he set up the team before. It's a really fucked up thing. When I heard that, when I watched the episode, I got a little heated here and now. It's like, what the nerve of you to say that? That's wild. And as Klaus thinks back on that night, he thinks to himself, who was that? Who took that shot? We'll find out eventually. Because it's here all of a sudden, we see his feet get chained together as we hear, we finally caught you. And we see that literally all the girls pulled up with some guns. As Klaus says, aren't you supposed to be back at your academies? As Annette says, we were acting because we're spies, yo. As Lily says, at long last, we finally won against you. Now we can make whatever demands we want. As Klaus says, like what? And Lily says, do you even have to ask? We want Lamplight to stay together. We have 8 more episodes to go through. As Klaus tells him, you know, you could have just asked me normally. Why bother tricking me, locking me up, and holding me at gunpoint? As Monica says, we're just continuing your lesson plan. As Lily says, we want to keep learning from you. Teach us how a bunch of former washouts can come into bloom. As Klaus says, okay, I see where you're coming from. As he takes the cuffs off and says, but as you can see, you aren't qualified to be my enemies yet. As Klaus says, for all 7 of you on Lamplight, class is back in session. Or should I say 8. And with that, our episode ends. And I gotta say, guys, this episode I thought was much better than the previous ones. I think it really picked up the pace a bit, and I quite enjoyed it. And it really gives you the tone of the series. This, like I said, the 3-episode rule is very important. It really lets you get a vibe for a show. And I gotta say, if the show's gonna be like this, I think I'm going to very much enjoy it. So let me know what you guys saw of this episode down below. You've had over a week to think about it. So yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of opinions on it. And I would love to hear them. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until tomorrow when we do the next episode, I'll see you then. Deuces.